Hey, what is up, everyone? Odin here. I'm finally working on this infamous, uh, now, at least for me and anybody who watches, nobody. Just me. But it's all good. Um, Infamous two-page spread. It's gonna be fun. While I'm working on this, I was, just watching a podcast about my beloved Denver Broncos. Anyone who knows me knows how much I love my Broncos. And they're probably going to announce tomorrow that Sam Walton's son, grandson, I don't know. A guy with the last name Walton, who has billions of dollars, comes from the Walmart Sam Walton family line, is going to buy the Broncos. Which I have mixed feelings about that. I'm glad it wasn't Bezos, because that was the one thing that was getting thrown out there. There is a niceness to knowing that whoever buys it has just tons of money falling out of their asshole. So if they take it seriously, at least we won't be burdened with not having enough money as a franchise. But yeah, it's been a interesting year for Broncos fan. We'll never have an owner like Pat Bowlen. We all know that. I mean, by far, in my opinion, I don't think anyone's got an argument. I really don't. In my opinion, a little biased, but the greatest owner of all time, Mr. Pat Bowlen. We know those days are gone, as sad as it may be. So we just have to know that we're gonna get new ownership. We've kind of rode out this lack of owners for long enough, but yeah, it's been quite an interesting off season for my Denver Broncos as well. It's been some of the shittiest times to be a Broncos fan for the past 6-7 years, however long since Peyton Manning retired. We got a glimmer of hope with the signing of Mr. Russell Wilson. So the funniest thing about that is I'm in Washington State. I'm born and raised in Colorado, living in Washington State now. So the news of Russell Wilson coming to the Broncos is is pretty awesome. So being a Broncos fan in Washington isn't so bad. There's a lot of us out here, actually. But we had to go through the one Super Bowl. And I remember that Super Bowl very, very well. I talked a lot of shit going into it. I mean, we had the best offense, in my opinion, of all time. Definitely the most prolific passing offense of all time. I don't think there's much argument, really. The numbers speak for themselves. So I was fairly confident. Now, give it to the Seahawks for what they did, but that game was shy from the beginning. So, like I said, I was talking shit. I get to Super Bowl Sunday. I was married at the time. My ex-wife, her family were all Seahawks fans. So the game was a pretty big deal, right? And we were all going to watch the game at her brother's house. Well, I was sick. I just the day of the Super Bowl got horribly sick, like a 24-hour bug. But I didn't want to be around anybody. I thought I shouldn't. I wasn't feeling good. I'm like, I'm sorry. I know we're going to watch the game together, but I'm just going to watch this by myself. You guys all go to the Super Bowl party that they were having. And so I watched by myself in complete misery as the Broncos just got destroyed. I mean, I've grown up through some Broncos Super Bowls, and I've seen them get destroyed. And even those ones back in the John Elway days weren't as bad as how they got destroyed by the Seahawks. And how that felt for me living in Washington, being sick. It was a nightmare. So, and then the Seahawks lose to the Patriots in like close game fashion. I'm like, why couldn't it have been the other way around? I fucking hate the Patriots. Like, couldn't you have had the blowout against them and the close game against the Broncos? And all Russell Wilson, and he's been the darling of Seattle for years now. I was mad at the Broncos for not drafting him when they took Paxton Lynch instead. Or not Paxton Lynch, Brock Osweiler. Because I knew this Russell Wilson guy, and people can say, oh, you say that in hindsight. It's like, no, I remember thinking, like, because I was a Breeze fan, Doug Flutie, I liked all these little short quarterbacks. I didn't think the height was a problem, but we knew and definitely could tell that John Elway favored the tall, which didn't work out too well for him. So yeah, now he's a Bronco, and I'm pretty excited about that. I was thinking, this is like the lowest time in Broncos history, I think. The most consecutive losing seasons, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, well, what's been the worst time as a Broncos fan? Now, my worst experience as a Broncos fan was, I think it was 95 or 96. We had a really, really good team, and we're terrassing through the league. First game we had in the playoffs was against the upstart Jaguars, led by Mark Brunell and I think Natron Means. This is how much I remember stupid shit. But and we got our asses kicked that game. I think that was one of the lowest. The Super Bowl against Seattle was definitely one of the lowest as far as moments, but just periods in time. Yeah, this last few years has been not good. And we're hoping that fortunes change. You know, it's kind of one of those if you can't beat them, join them feelings. You know, we did that with Peyton Manning. He always kicked our ass in the playoffs. Then we got Peyton Manning. Russell Wilson kicks our ass in the Super Bowl. Well, why not go get him? Can't beat him, join him, or make him join you. Which leads me to the greatest moments in Broncos for me. And the greatest is an easy one. It's really easy. It was the Super Bowl against the Packers. The first Broncos Super Bowl that they won. John Elway played several Super Bowls. He played in 3 Super Bowls before that. Lost them all. And then gets a shot at redemption one more time. This time with the better defense. Nothing against Carl Mecklenburg and Rulon Jones and some of those guys, Simon Fletcher, but a better defense and by far a better running game and offensive line. Yeah, again, nothing against Sammy Winder or Keith Bishop, but they're no Gary Zimmerman and Terrell Davis. So, but we were pretty good underdogs against the Packers. And that was a pretty solid Packers team for sure. Brett Favre, he was on top of his game. That was one of his best years. And Robert Brooks, Antonio Freeman, Mark Chimura. You know, who was their running back at the time? Dorsey Levens. I think it was him instead of Edgar Bennett. One or the two. But they both did great. And it was Dorsey Levens. And man, that was a good Super Bowl, regardless of who you're going for. Unless you're a Packers fan, you probably hate it. But just the intensity of the game. And I'll never forget, I could see it, I could feel it in the players. They're like, we are not going to lose. And it was a close game. So there's a very famous moment where John Elway is trying to run for a first down. He's older now, old horse face, and he's running. Gets hit low, and the helicopter spin. But he dove, he's like, I'm going for this first down. You could just tell, like, they were like, gotta fucking win this one for Broncos country. We gotta win this one, as John said later in Super Bowl 50 for Pat. But for himself, had to win this one. For Shanahan, who'd come in. For Terrell Davis, for everybody. And you could just tell when he did that helicopter dive, he wanted it. And if they lost, there would be no excuses for effort. And another moment that was like that, one of those like, fuck, these guys really, really are selling out. They want to win this so bad. Was my favorite player of all time. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a homer for Steve Atwater. The way he played was just so badass and so intense. And even now, he's such a nice, cool guy. It's just night and day what he was like on the field to what he's like as a person. But Brett Favre throws his pass down the middle to Robert Brooks. Ike Hilliard's on the coverage. Atwater's coming in from the side and just takes out all three of them are knocked out. He goes in with a total, like by today's standards, crown of the helmet is the most obliterate yourself and everybody in the way torpedo kind of play, and literally three bodies just lying there on the ground. Absolutely insane, but you could just tell he's like, I am selling out everything I have for this moment to win this game. And then at the end, the Packers are driving, they've got a chance. John Mobley knocks down the fourth down pass. Pat Bullen hosts the trophy and says, this one's for John. I mean, it was so redeeming for all of us, especially those of us who grew up watching him lose many Super Bowls. Always seeing us get there because we were the best of the AFC, and the NFC was just a tier above. And that was kind of a real tide turner as far as the AFC getting some respect back, because the Broncos were always getting beat down. The Bills were always getting beat down. I remember the Chargers against the Niners back in the day were getting beat down. The AFC was always getting their ass trounced. And when we won that Super Bowl, that was like a reminder. And then the Patriots had their run, but it was like the AFC's back, and man, that was so redeeming for John Elway. As I'm working on this, I'm already into it, and I'm like, I don't like it. Now I could see how it could still be badass, like just as an image, but for the story. So I put the horizon line way up here, and it's kind of a funky angle as they're all 1 point perspective. And I don't know how much time to spend on it if I don't think it's going to work for the story. So let's see if I can show some more of this. If you can kind of see the main character popping her head out there. She's coming out of a hallway, and in this hallway is a horde of monsters. Monsterzzz-z-z-z. Any Simpsons fans? Don't look at the monsters. Monsters. Was that Frankie Avalon? Frankie Valley? I think. I can't remember. So while as I'm drawing it, I'm like, am I wasting time? Am I going to trash this page? Or am I going to not trash it, but just keep it as like an archive page for something and not use it in the story, which I don't if I'm going to do that, I want to toss it now. These kind of questions are hard. And I mean, it's just pencil phase, but I don't want to erase it because it's cool enough that it would be a cool image. I just don't know if it's the image I want at this point. And I just started drawing it going, yeah, this will be cool. We'll do it this way. So I don't know. Yeah, all these questions. So that said, I was just making another video. But to show you all that I'm fully back in drawing mode, but not happy with it. So I was watching, I can't remember the name of the channel. It's Billy Tucci's channel, but he has a guy, like his partner, who does weekly or bi-weekly or something, where he just talks about different kind of more unknown crowdfunded books. And, you know, they're always really cool, and they're really cool people. You know, it's always fun to see other people creating comics and, you know, starting their campaigns, and it's cool. But as I look at it, like sometimes I'll see some of the artwork and some of the writing, I'm like, man, I gotta up my game. And other times I feel like, okay, I can do this. And I know I can. It's just, it's easy to get in your head when you've never done it before. Yeah. So also, really quick, I got this the other day. And if you haven't seen it or read it, I mean, it's quite a read. But I basically went through it in like a day or two, just when I had time. But it was, it's all Barry Windsor Smith. I think he wrote it and drew it. But, man, this guy's a legend. And so sometimes when I see this stuff, I'm just like, I'm nobody. I suck. I'll never be good. But even some of his images, I'm like, oh, no, that's not that bad. You know, I can do this. But man, this was 350 some pages, 60? 363, one for every day of the year. 365 pages. And this is a great story. The storytelling in the art is phenomenal. His just ability to tell the story, ridiculously good. And it's got some cool elements of, I don't know, time and what's that called? How things are connected, the physics term. I don't know, I can't fucking think of it. But man, you feel for the main character. You really do. Great book, and I would encourage anyone to get it. Shell out the price. I mean, it's a big, giant book, so it's not like, you know, cheap comic. You know, you're going to pay a bit. I think I paid 40 or something, or 50. But it was definitely worth it. So if you get a chance, pick that up. That said, I'm just going to wrap this up. But we'll keep drawing, keep making videos, keep promoting. Yeah, and hopefully some people start seeing this that are interested. I haven't really splashed the YouTube page too much because it's me. So I'm selling me. Like, I could sell artwork a little easier than I can sell just me as a person. So, which is funny. When I was in a band, it was like, oh man, so much of it was who you were. You know, talent has to be there, of course. But if you're confident and just go out there and perform, people buy it, believe it, they buy it, you know. and I was totally confident in what we were doing. I was confident in my performing abilities, and I was confident in me as a person, just in a whole person kind of sense, but comics is interesting in this day and age. Everybody's got a YouTube channel. Everybody's selling themselves as much as they are their artwork and their stories. And you've seen that sells comics as much as anything right now. Independent comics. Like who you are and how you can sell yourself is huge. So I may not be bad at playing my part. I'm really comfortable with who I am, but I'm bad at selling that. I'm bad at presenting that. So I'm gonna up my game. I'm working on some stuff. It's coming. Some channel, YouTube channel, fucking frills, I guess. Because right now it's just me talking into a camera like this. But all that shit's gonna come. But in the meantime, I'm just again getting comfortable talking, showing art, talking about life. I was a youth minister for a long time, and a young adults minister, and I worked with people, and I've spoke to high schools, and I've been on stage. I've given messages and sermons, and I've also been a lead singer of a band and many bands, and so I'm used to being on stage or being the center of attention, even though I shy away from it in most social settings. I've always hated class clowns. I'm like, fuck, attention whore. But when you're like on stage, everyone's there to see you, or you're sonically taking over everything in the room. So it's kind of like put up or shut up. It's you're up there, all eyes are on you. You gotta do it. So I became pretty natural at that after a while. But it's a little different, and it's also different to have to like sell yourself. But part of the reason why some of my videos become kind of long-winded, and then I always end with some kind of like moral of the story or motivational speak, is because of my past of like working with teens and working with young adults and I have teenagers right now, and I was one once myself. You get stuck on like some of the stupidest stuff, but that's why teenagers are prone to like suicide and weird shit like that, or drugs or identity crises, is because it seems like your whole world's wrapped up in very little things. The bigger you get, like, you've got people with like lots on their shoulders, and but as teenagers, they have very little on their shoulders, very minimal responsibilities, but you see it in such a hard-hitting way. So then you think like a breakup or somebody not liking you or somebody teasing you is like devastating, and it's such a huge thing. So I got really good at being like a motivator, and teenagers really need that, especially ones without strong parents. And the teenagers I worked with, it was a little more like, it was a youth group, but it was like the alternative. It was definitely more like the derelicts. The kids who were getting in trouble and stuff, a lot like I was. And so they oftentimes weren't very stable at home. Like, you go to a lot of youth groups across the country, and they're like kind of like middle class and stuff like that. But at least the one I grew up in was kind of like mega church, and everybody was fairly rich. And I was like, who the fuck are these people? Why am I here? I felt a little out of place. But this one was like, you probably felt out of place if you were normal and like well off or something. And but again, that leads to more instability at home. So having positive adult influences was huge for them. And some of them I still talk to here and there and keep up with their lives and see that now they've all grown up, they're getting married, they have their own little kids and families, and I can be very proud of them. And it's a blessing to me to know that maybe I've imparted a little bit of wisdom, hopefully, but when I see them enacted, it'll remind me, like, hey, you once believed that, like, remember it in your own life sometimes, so yeah, all that to say, that's why I get long-winded of like the message side of my stupid videos. It's because that's just who I am. I think my kids get tired of hearing that kind of talk, because dad rhetoric. But you show them with everything, and you try to have talks with them when they're ready. So when my kids open up to me, it's just the most wonderful thing. But sometimes they just don't want to tell me about what's going on, and it drives me crazy. Anyway, this is Odin. Hope you're all doing awesome. Bust out. See ya.